Welcome to Maths with Parvo. Today I shall be discussing a question from January 2019, Paper 1, Syllabus B, Pearson O-Level. Here we go. Question 1. Now let's have a look at the question. The first part of it says that a shop sells a tablet computer for $230 and it increases the price of the tablet by 5%. Calculate the price of the tablet after the price increase. So this question is on percentages. It's a very straightforward question. Here you are increasing something by 5%. Increasing anything by 5% means that we're going to add 5% to 100. So the first thing we do is we say 100 plus 5 is equal to 105%. That's the first piece of working that we do. And then we want to increase 230 by 5%. So basically increasing something by 5% means we are multiplying it by 105%. Okay, so increasing by 5% simply means multiplying whatever we have by 5%. So that's the same as saying 230 into 105%. And that's what we have here. So it's 230 into 105 over 100 because that's what 105% means. And then our answer is going to be 241.5. So that's our first question. Now let's move on to the second question. Here they have an nth term and they have a formula which is 5n squared minus 2. And we want to find the first three terms of the sequence. So it's very straightforward and quite a common question. When they say the first three terms of the sequence, we mean when n is equal to 1, n is equal to 2, and n is equal to 3. So when n is equal to 1, what we do is it's basic substitution for algebra. So it'll be 5 into 1 squared, which is 5 into 1, which is 5 minus 2, which is 3. When n is 2, we substitute n into what we have here as the formula, which is 5 into 2 squared, right? Which is 5 into 4 minus 2, and the answer is 18. When n is 3, we have 5 into 3 squared, which is 9, minus 2, which is 43. And that is your answer for question 2. Let's move on to the next question now. Here we have the length of the triangle in the ratio 4:5:6. So this is a question on ratios. So here we have the perimeter of the triangle is 80. The ratio of the lengths is 4:5:6. So the sum of all the parts, since we are dividing it into 4:5:6, we add 4 plus 5 plus 6 to get 15. So each side has got a fraction of 15. So 4 over 15, 5 over 15, and 6 over 15. Now they are asking for the length of the longest side, which obviously is going to be 6 over 15 into 80. And when we multiply that, we get the whole number, which is 32. Moving on to question 4. Factorize fully this expression. Now the first thing we do is we look at the numbers that are common. From 9 and 12, 3 is the common number, so we take it out. Then we look at the powers that are common. Now x squared and x, the only power that's common for x is just x. Then we have a y and y squared. The only power common is y. There are no other letters common. Next, what we do is, once we write 3xy, we want to divide. So basically, we're going to divide 9x squared. 9x squared y, we divide it by whatever the common letters and numbers are. So here we're going to write 9x squared y is going to be written divided by 9x squared y is going to be divided by 3xy. All right. Okay, now when we do that, I'm not sure why this is not coming correctly. Let's write it again. So we have 9x squared, and we have a y on top, and we're going to divide it by 3xy. So what we do here is, now first we're going to cancel off whatever letters we can. So we can cancel off the y's. We have an x squared on top and an x at the bottom, so we end up with just a single power of x. Then we can divide the 9 by 3 to get 3. So what we are left with on top is simply 3x. Next, we're going to take the 12xy squared z, and we're going to divide that by 3xy. So I find that sometimes students don't really understand what we mean by factorizing. Factorizing is simply taking whatever common letters and numbers out of the bracket, and then we divide each of these terms by whatever we have outside the bracket. So when we do that, we're going to cancel what we can. So we can cancel an x and y. We have a power of 2y on top and a power 1 at the bottom, so that just becomes a y on top. We can cancel the 12 and the 3. 12 divided by 3 we know is 4. So we're left here with a 4, and we're left with a y, and we're left with a z. So as you can see, what I have here is what I've written here, and what I am left with here is what is written here. So this is our answer. Our final answer is this. All right, let's move on to the next question. Question 5 and 6. Here we want to make y the subject. So the first thing when we have a situation like this is, we don't want anything in the denominator, so we're going to multiply x by y. So when we multiply w by y, we end up with yw equals 8 into x plus 1. We're going to expand this bracket, so we get yw equals 8x plus 8. Then we have to keep in mind that we want to make x the subject. So then we keep the 8x on the right hand side, and we move the 8 to the left hand side. So we have yw minus 8 equals 8x. Now remember, we want to make x a subject, so we want only x and not 8x. So the only way we can do that is to divide both sides by 8. So if we divide both sides by 8, we will end up with yw minus 8 over 8. Now we can leave that as an answer, or we can divide each of these terms by 8. That means we'll get yw over 8 minus 8 over 8 is just 1. And that will be our answer. Next, we go on to question 6, and they say simplify. Now when you have a bracket raised to a power 3, that means everything in the bracket is raised to the power 3. So we have 2 cubed, which is 8, x cubed, which is x cubed, y squared to the power 3 is y to the power 6. And at the bottom, it's the same, 4xy squared. Now, if we divide 8 by 4, we get 2. If we divide x cubed by x, we get x squared. If we divide y to the power 6 by y to the power 2, we get y to the power 4. In case you weren't sure about how to expand it, let me just write this out for you. So we have on top, the bracket is 2, and everything is raised to the power 2. So 2 cubed. Then we have an x. We have an x, which we have to raise to the power 3. And then don't forget, we have a y squared. So I'm going to put that in brackets. A y squared, which we're going to raise to the power 3. Now, 2 cubed we know is going to be 8. X cubed we know is going to be x cubed. And in terms of the indices rules, if we raise a power to another power, we simply multiply the powers. So this will become y to the power 2 into 3. And that's how we get y to the power 6. Let me explain question 7. Here we have a curve. it says by drawing a suitable straight line on the grid, find an estimate to 1 decimal place of the gradient of the curve at the point when x equals 1. Now what we do in a situation like this is, we first go to x equals 1. We go over here, we draw a line up to the curve. Then what we do is we have to draw a tangent line there. Now, when they ask you to find the gradient of the curve at x equals 1, we have to find the gradient of this tangent line. So we look at the 2 points that we have. The one on top, we're calling it 1.2, 4.6. Here, this point at the bottom, we're calling it 0.3, 0. So we know that if you want to find out the gradient of a line, we use the formula y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2, which is exactly what we do here. We have 4.6 minus 0 divided by 1.2 minus 0.3, and our answer is 5.1. So that's how we find out the answer for this question. Once again, they say by drawing a suitable straight line, and this is a straight line that we draw. Let me just use the spotlight. By drawing a suitable straight line, find an estimate to 1 decimal place of the gradient of the curve at the point when x is equal to 1. That's all for now. I shall continue in another video of the questions from question 8 onwards. I hope you understood what I explained. Goodbye for now until my next video.